This next segment is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield's National Labor Office. You know, Blue Cross and Blue Shield companies formed out of a need to provide affordable health care to teachers, to loggers, and miners. That was back in 1965, 60 years ago. That's when the Blues developed the National Labor Office to strengthen its commitment to organized labor. Well, today, Blue Cross and Blue Shield's National Labor Office remains focused on America's workers, advocating for affordable and equitable health care. Partnering with strategic alliances to provide industry-leading products and services, and proudly serving more than 18 million unionized workers, retirees, and their families, all working hard for America's working families and for the health of America. You can learn more by following them at Blue Labor on LinkedIn and X, formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast, AWF Union Podcast. Hard to believe, but today, August 14th, is the 90th anniversary of Social Security. It was on this date, 1935, that then President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed into law the Social Security Act. And today, it's 90 years old and, well, it's under attack. Joining us as our featured guest right now is the former governor of Maryland and a former commissioner of the Social Security Administration. Martin O'Malley served on that commission from 2023 to 2024. Governor, welcome to America's Workforce. You and I talked not too long ago when you came out with a book, and we had a wonderful conversation. So I'm delighted that you're joining us today, especially on this significant date in history. I'd like to talk to you about Social Security under attack right now, because under this so-called big, beautiful, but really ugly bill, there is considerable discussion that Social Security will be privatized. Not a good idea. I know George W. Bush tried to do that about 20 years ago and got a backlash. But welcome to America's Workforce. Thanks for joining us today. And talk to me about what you are hearing about everything that I discussed. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Flash, thank you. And thank you for having me on before about my book, How to Govern for Results in the Information Age. I still believe governing for results is going to come back. So this is the attack we've been seeing on Social Security since day one of the Trump administration. I should say the second Trump administration. And it was led initially by the former co-president Elon Musk, but they have gone after Social Security's operations, administration, staffing with a chainsaw. They have pushed more people out of the agency through mass firings, paying them to leave, hostile work environment than ever before. And this is in an agency, Flash, that was already reduced to a 50-year low in staffing while serving ever larger numbers of customers every single day because of baby boomers like of my generation. But what happened the other day was that the Secretary of Treasury, Bessent, said the silent part out loud. He said that contained within the big, beautiful bankrupting of America bill is these baby bonds, he said, that are in essence, and these are his words, this is a backdoor way to privatize Social Security. So this is where we stand right now. And then Social Security has never missed a payment in 90 years, which is saying a lot. I mean, all through the pandemic, never missed a monthly payment. But the agency is now teetering on the brink of the first benefit interruption in 90 long years. And such is the damage that they have already done. And I believe it's intentional on their part. I think they're trying to precipitate some sort of emergency situation. And after having wrecked it in the eyes of enough Americans, then they'll be able to do whatever they want with it so that their buddies can make a buck, or they can invest, the surplus in the trust fund and Bitcoin or whatever the hell they want to do. But it won't be for the good of the country or the good of the beneficiaries.
So this is kind of a backdoor approach. And you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the 401k accounts, the IRAs, when Reagan was president, that was supposed to supplement your retirement, not actually take it over, which is eventually what happened here. Because at that time, almost everybody had a defined benefit. Now it's a defined contribution plan. But here's this category. Maybe we could do a deep dive into this. It's a new category. They're calling these Trump accounts. And apparently, they're going to seed them with $1,000 from the government. And I don't know what happens after that. But essentially, they want to start this, and it would replace Social Security. Is that what I'm hearing in this conversation?
I suppose so. And I wasn't even aware of this aspect within the bill. I'm sure some in Congress have. I mean, you and I have often heard as a Democratic idea the notion of baby bonds. The idea that if we set aside $1,000 for every baby born in a city or in a county, that over time, parents could contribute to that. And, you couldn't access it until you're of age of 16 or 18, whatever it is. Most of these things were pushed either at the city level, county level, perhaps some states. I'm not aware. Our state hasn't done it. But now, lo and behold, Donald Trump baked into this one this creation of $1,000 that has to be invested in the market. And the regulations for this aren't out yet. We're all kind of conjecturing here. The notion, though, is that parents of a newborn child in America, assuming, I guess, that it meets their criteria of what a child born in America means, but setting aside that, that a parent of a newborn would apply for this account, be given $1,000, but it is invested in the market. And what Bessent said the other day, the Secretary of the Treasury, who I guess is now also the Commissioner of the IRS, because I think Donald Trump fired his sixth IRS commissioner in 6 months, he said that this is in essence a backdoor way to privatize Social Security. The notion, I suppose, being that if over time people see investing in the stock market does better for them than investing in U.S. Treasury bonds, which is where Social Security's surplus is required to be invested, that we can just turn it all into private accounts and have it invested on the stock market, which is something Congress has in different angles looked at in the past and decided not to do that. And the American people, I believe, are the better for it. Could you imagine if everything were invested in the market when the market tanked? So Social Security is a sacred promise. It's a pay-as-you-go program, and it should be here for the next 90 years. Any of the challenges that we read about facing Social Security, whether the operational or the long-term financial health, these are solvable problems. Sadly, though, these guys seem more intent on wrecking it than on making it better.
Yeah. What would happen to all the money that's in Social Security right now? Because right now they're saying there's enough in there. I believe it's like 2033 or something. And then if nothing is done, then they're going to start cutting Social Security payments. But the pot of money that's in there now, do they want to funnel that over to Wall Street or what?
That would appear to be what they're after, Flush. They asked the guy, why do you rob banks? He said, that's because that's where the money is. Social Security is the only agency in the United States government that runs a surplus, a $2.6 trillion surplus. Now, that surplus was built up intentionally by Congress after the adjustment in 1983, the last time we were on the verge of this, cliff, this haircut where the surplus reserve would be depleted. Congress built up that surplus reserve in the trust fund to cover the retirement years of the baby boomers, that demographic bulge. But the corpus of Social Security, the bulk of it, is actually a pay-as-you-go program. So in other words, last year, people working in the economy paid in $1.3 trillion. Social Security paid out to active beneficiaries who had earned their benefits $1.4 trillion. Where did the difference come from? That difference was drawn down from that surplus reserve. And it is that surplus reserve, not the Social Security program, but that surplus reserve that is being depleted sooner than they thought in 1983 because of income inequality. So it is said that if Social Security by 2033 no longer had that surplus reserve to draw on to make up the difference for the baby boomer years of what's coming in every day and what's going out every day, then everybody would receive a 17% reduction in benefits. Or, stated another way, Social Security would be able, on a pay-go basis, only to continue to pay 83% of benefits. So that's what we're talking about. It's difficult because you and I and everybody, all of your listeners, sees the scary articles that get a lot of, clicks of eyeballs saying, "Oh, Social Security to go totally dry by 2033." That's not true, but it is true that that surplus reserve is being depleted sooner than they thought. Another way to think about it, if you'll indulge me, is this: there is a cap on how much of our earnings the Social Security tax is applied to, which means that it's adjusted every year for inflation, which means that if you are a family of four that is hardworking and fortunate enough in our country to be able to earn $170,000, $10,000 of that is what you pay into Social Security for your earned benefits. But if you're a millionaire that makes $170 million, you also pay just that same $10,000 into Social Security. So if you want to extend the long-term health of that surplus reserve, the solution is pretty apparent. You ask people that make more than $400,000 or $250,000. There's bills that are put in by Democrats every year to do that, to start paying into Social Security. It's not right that a janitor working at the Trump Towers pays in all year out of every paycheck to Social Security, while the owner of Trump Towers stops paying in a few hours after the ball drops from Times Square.
Our featured guest today on this 90th anniversary of the start of Social Security is Martin O'Malley, former governor of the state of Maryland. He's also a former mayor of Baltimore and a former commissioner, Social Security commissioner. Governor, can we talk some more? I have a couple more questions. You got enough time for that?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely, man.
Okay, real good. You're listening to America's Workforce. Back in a few minutes. Don't go away. And remember, you can check us out on at least 5 platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. And when you get an opportunity, here's what you do. Just sign up and receive our shows on a regular basis and give us a rating. We always appreciate those 5-star ratings, so please keep them coming. We also appreciate the great guests that our producers have lined up for America's Workforce. And today our featured guest is the former governor of the state of Maryland and former Social Security commissioner under former President Joe Biden. A lot of formers in there. And I know a lot of people probably thinking, Biden was pretty good. I mean, the economy was was humming, especially when Biden was in office, and we're not dealing with all these tariffs. That's another story. Today, we're concentrating on Social Security because today is the 90th anniversary of Social Security. You were talking about solvency here, and we have a partnership with the Alliance for Retired Americans, and I've really learned a lot about Social Security and the funding of it over the years. And you probably heard about this Scrap the Cap campaign. And you mentioned how by 2033, if nothing is done, that there's going to be like a 17% haircut. Those payments will be reduced by 17%. The Scrap the Cap. And so in other words, to somebody like Elon Musk, they would have to pay a whole lot more in a Social Security. Will that cover what's needed here, in your opinion? I mean, you've been looking at these numbers for quite some time when you were commissioner. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it will go a long way. It really is the bulk of the solution is to require wealthier people to continue to pay in on their earnings into Social Security. Really, I think only about 6% of Americans enjoy the benefit of earning more than $170,000 so as not to have to pay into Social Security any longer. You don't have a cap like that on Medicare. So the biggest part of the solution to Social Security's ability to pay full benefits through the retirement years of the baby boomers is really to require wealthier people to start paying in. I asked the chief actuary, who career civil servant at Social Security. He recently left, like so many career civil servants. But I asked him, what did they get wrong in 1983 in the last adjustment? Because Social Security operates on a 75-year forecast. What did they improperly, what did they not account for? What did they get wrong? And he said, we were told, set the earnings cap to which Social Security would apply at a level that would capture 90% of increased earnings in America over the next 40 years. But Ronald Reagan made so many changes that accelerated, accentuated, exacerbated income inequality that instead for the next 40 years, with the dollars that were earned, increased dollars going to the top 5 or 6%, we only captured 80% of the increased earnings in America and not 90%. So scrapping the cap, requiring wealthier people to start paying in again to Social Security, give up their windfall that they currently have, is really the most fiscally responsible thing to do. It's in the best interest of the country and beneficiaries and, the social contract that we have among us and between us over the generations that we call Social Security.
Let me ask you this. Social Security and Medicare are intertwined, and I bring that up. And in fact, I just went on Medicare at the beginning of July, and my Social Security payment was reduced by $185 a month. My wife as well, because that's when you enter Part B. And then if you want to go on Medicare Advantage or the supplemental, the Medigap things. So if they privatize Social Security, if they go that route, what about Medicare? How is that affected by all this?
I don't know that even they understand that at this point, Flash. You are right. I mean, there's such over 90 years. There are collaborations, relationships, connections between these programs. They're knit together. So Social Security is how you enroll for Medicare, and as you pointed out, Social Security is not only the enrollment agent for Medicare, it's also kind of the collection entity and I think that's why a lot of people are going to be disappointed when Donald Trump lies and says he eliminated taxes on Social Security benefits. When they see that the Medicare payment's still coming out, that's the thing that that most people lump into taxing Social Security benefits. So I don't think they really understand where ultimately they're going with these things. They're just trying to destroy as much as they can, as quickly as they can, while they can.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is they're raiding the piggy bank right now. And we don't know what Musk and his team have done so far. You pointed out in the first segment that a lot of people are not working there anymore. We don't know what's going on with those Social Security numbers. I mean, eventually we're going to find out. Do you feel that they're kind of like destroying it from within, make it so bad, make it so bad that we have to do something like privatize it? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. President Biden, his very first speech that he gave as a full-fledged citizen again, it was all about Social Security. And he has said that they're trying to wreck its customer service. They're trying to wreck its reputation with big lies like, fraud, waste, abuse, millions of dead people getting checks, none of which is true. So they're trying to wreck its customer service and wreck its reputation in the eyes of enough Americans so that then they can get away with robbing it or privatizing it or a combination of the two. And the other thing that he said, and he said it 4 times to make sure that we heard it, he said, they've already succeeded in robbing us of our peace of mind. People that work their whole lives, that paid into Social Security, knowing that promise was backed by the full faith and credit of the United States of America, are now going online on that date of the month when their direct deposit would hit, and with a little bit of bated breath, going online to see if, in fact, it came in this month, or is this the month where they finally miss a payment? That's why this is the highest polling negative of the Trump administration, is they're messing with Social Security. The democracy's onto them, Flash. And I truly believe that when there is a wide-scale benefit interruption, there's already been distinct benefit interruptions affecting numbers of people. But when there's a wider scale interruption of those 70 million people that receive benefits, the democracy is going to rise up, and they're going to affix the blame for the destruction to the Trump administration, to Doge, to Elon Musk, and they will be right.
We're speaking with Martin O'Malley, former Social Security Commissioner under President Biden, also former governor of Maryland and a mayor at one time for the city of Baltimore. You know, you spent your entire life pretty much in politics. You have to be scratching your head, so frustrated seeing what's going on in America. And you pointed out, we had you on the show some years back when you came out with your book, Governing for Results, and we're not seeing results. We're not seeing results. You know, this administration is saying we're getting some results, but I don't think the American people are seeing results, especially when it comes to grocery prices. So, Governor, with everything that I said right now, how do you feel? Do you think you might have to get back into political office? I mean, a lot of people, as you know, are not too happy about what's going on. What's your answer to that?
I tell you what it inspires me to do is to continue to speak up and to speak out. I had the honor, a unique perch, if you will, of being able to work with and lead those hardworking men and women at Social Security in a phenomenal year of turnaround. You know, every service delivery metric, if you think about it like a big insurance corporation, which is what Social Security is, insurance against poverty and old age or poverty as a result of a disability. They got almost all but one, all but the processing center backlogs moving in a better direction. Reduce the speed time to answer the phone call at 1-800 number from 42 and a half minutes to less than 13 minutes. And they could have made even greater progress if only Congress and the president would allow them to staff at an appropriate level for all the people that we're serving. So what I think we all need to be inspired to do right now is speak up, speak out. The town halls and the other things that we're doing to organize are important. Yes, the midterms aren't here yet. They won't be here for 18 more months. But none of us can go silent. So I'm not going silent. I'm not giving up. I think my days of running for office are behind me. But we can't let these guys rob us of our agency, of our voice, or our ability to speak the truth, which is we're all in this together. We need each other, and we have to help each other if we're going to succeed. And that's the truth we should celebrate on the 90th birthday of the Social Security Administration.
And we will leave it on that note. Governor, thank you so much for joining us. Martin O'Malley, former governor, state of Maryland, former Social Security Commissioner.
Thank you, Flash.
Always a pleasure. Please keep in touch with us. And you know what? We're doing a lot of speaking out right here on America's Workforce. So you can share in that anytime you wish. Okay, brother?
Awesome, man. Thank you, Flash. We'll see you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to Tucson, Arizona, and check in with IATSE 415 and talk about an organizing victory at a local cinema. That story right after this on America's Workforce.